Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us this Tuesday. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Russ has the night off. A heated topic that's been discussed, debated, and fought about for more than 2 decades. Tonight, we now know how many Yellowstone National Park bison will be hunted, captured, and slaughtered this season. Well, that number, 600 to 900 animals, about the same number as last year. A group of state and federal agencies and Western tribes agreed to the number based on recommendations from Yellowstone National Park biologists. Right now, the Yellowstone bison herd is estimated to be around 4,900 animals, an increase of around 300 from a year ago. Now, hunters are expected to harvest 200 to 300 animals. The rest will be captured and slaughtered.
Just to support migration outside of the park, support and conserve the bison population. Support tribal and state hunting outside of the park while minimizing the total migration, which in turn minimizes the risk of brucellosis transmission to livestock.
Now, the Yellowstone herd currently has more older males than females. As a result, more bulls will likely be targeted this season. And Gardner residents who've complained about hunters leaving bison carcasses near their homes probably won't get any relief this season. MTN's John Shear brings us that story tonight.
Here in West Yellowstone, where the group is meeting, the gates to the park are closed until it reopens for the winter on December 15th. But the Bison Management Group doesn't need those gates open in order to make decisions about one of the park's most iconic animals.
But I would like to urge you to, as this group is forming, that you do reach out to folks in Gardner.
Gardner is ground zero for bison hunting. As many as 300 of the animals are killed near the community when they wander out of the park in search of food. Residents say the carcasses left by hunters attract bears when the spring thaw comes. That, they say, threatens their safety.
And honestly, I'd love to see us try something this season and get it going rather than punt it for next year and wait.
The Greater Yellowstone Coalition agrees. It offered $5,000 toward providing dumpsters near the hunting grounds, but hunters might have to drag the heavy animals right to those dumpsters.
And we're always having to change all the time. And that's going to be a hard one to take back to my respective people. And I'm here looking out for the well-being and prosperity of Nez Perce.
There are also questions about where to haul the carcasses and how to pay for the plan.
Can we agree, the partners, first of all, that we form a working group and at least start down this path to look at some alternatives that might work?
Now, that idea was approved, but the committee won't even meet for the first time until January, which means Gardner residents are not likely to get any relief this season. In West Yellowstone, I'm John Shearer for MTN News.
Thanks, John. Now, the Greater Yellowstone Coalition suggests composting the bison carcasses the same way cattle carcasses are handled. Well, a major decline in hunter and harvest numbers this season has local wildlife experts on the hunt to figure out why. Q2 Zoe Zandora talked with Fish, Wildlife and Parks Bob Gibson today to get his take. Zoe.
Thanks, Jeanelle. Gibson says the major storm that hit last weekend in south central Montana really dragged numbers down for the 2019 general big game season at all 5 locations. Now, numbers being at a historic low, one major question many are asking, did chronic wasting disease play a role? Here in south central Montana, CWD was found in 3 deer and 1 elk. Gibson says it could have affected the numbers of hunters if they didn't hunt because there was CWD on the landscape.
It possibly could have affected it, but we don't know that yet. Anecdotally, there are a few people that have said, yeah, I decided not to mess with deer this year because of chronic wasting disease, but certainly that's not a scientific sampling, nor did the people who didn't hunt stop at our check stations where we could have talked to them. So those questions will be coming to hunters during the next few months here when we do our harvest surveys.
And when I asked Gibson if the record low harvest will affect how FWP manages the herd, he says it could. Biologists are already looking at the herds, and if they get too big, they may change the structure of the season. But they are gathering information and making suggestions to the commission. And in February, the season will be set for the next 2 years. Jeanelle.
All right, thanks, Zoe. Well, Carbon County authorities have officially declared a disaster after early frost and snow destroyed nearly 20% of the local sugar beet crop, resulting in a hard hit to the local economy. The Southern Montana Sugar Beet Growers Association says the cold claimed yield and sugar beet quality and estimates payments to growers will be about 60% of what they projected. The disaster declaration will help local producers become eligible for disaster relief funding. Now, Irvin Schlemmer, who's been farming in the area since 1972, tells Q2 this is the worst beet damage he has seen from weather in all of his time. And turning now to Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire. Bob, we have already seen our fair share of snow, but how do we rank with the rest of the state?
You know, Jeanelle, it's hard to believe that winter hasn't even started yet. That's 18 days away. But let me show you how we're doing for snowfall this fall. It's not winter. Let me show you how we're talking about. As you see here in Billings, we're at 21.5 inches so far. Normal for this time of year is 12.5, so we're actually 9 inches ahead of normal. Last year at this time, we were at 6.7 inches. In Glasgow, they're at 12.1, 7.2 inches normal, so they're actually about 5 inches ahead of normal. Last year this time, they were at 11.7. Great Falls has had 60 inches. They're 46 inches ahead of normal. Havers had 37. They're 29.2 inches ahead of normal. And Bozeman, they're at 18.1 inches so far. They're 10 inches ahead of normal. It's been a pretty snowy fall. We'll see what winter has to bring. We'll have more in your forecast in a few more minutes.
All right, thanks, Bob. Well, $2 million boost is headed to downtown Billings to turn a historic building into an entrepreneurial hub. Q2's Mitch Laggy was on hand today to learn more about the money and exactly what it's going to do. Mitch.
Well, Jeanelle, the $2 million federal grant comes from the U.S. Department of Commerce and was awarded to Big Sky Economic Development Group. The federal money will be matched by $2 million from local partners like Big Sky EDA and Zoot Properties. After renovations, the historic Montana National Bank building at 201 North Broadway will be the new home for Big Sky EDA and its Rock 31 program, a place where new businesses can find help to grow. Rock 31 provides local entrepreneurs with mentorship and resources to start or expand a new company.
We've been having this 3-year-long conversation and a lot of effort behind our Rock 31 initiative that led us to today, where we were selected to receive the grant. So we're really excited about that.
So when people are coming to us, they're looking for capital infusion, they're looking for assistance in learning how to navigate a new space. A lot of these companies are high growth, early stage companies. So for many of them, this is new territory for them. So we help them kind of develop a pathway to success.
And Arviskow added that design and architecture planning still needs to be done for the new space. Any estimated construction would not start until sometime in 2021. Jeanelle?
Thanks, Mitch. Well, a woman is in the hospital after crashing her car into a power pole in Lockwood tonight and fleeing the scene. Montana Highway Patrol Trooper Brennan Plucker tells Q2 the Montana woman in her mid-30s will be charged with multiple citations. Now, the accident around 6:30 tonight on Beecraft Lane caused dozens of power outages. Drugs and alcohol are not suspected factors in the crash. A former Helena Elementary School teacher and husband of Melissa Romano, the Democratic candidate for state superintendent of public instruction, is now charged with felony possession of dangerous drugs, including cocaine, methamphetamine, and LSD. Now, that felony charge filed today against Eric Lehman. Prosecutors say they've already negotiated a plea agreement. Lehman was pulled over in Helena for expired registration, but the patrolman smelled marijuana and suspected illegal drugs. Romano says her husband is taking responsibility for his actions and is seeking treatment. Romano is challenging State Superintendent Elsie Arnson again in 2020. Still to come on the Q2 10 o'clock news, another candidate drops out of the presidential race while President Trump makes waves on the first day of the NATO summit. And in sports, Scott tells us which road team has to travel farther to play your Cats and Grizz on Saturday.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.